let's get this sad bit over and done with. Let's get McLaren and Ferrari, this whole conversation over and done with. I know you usually bring up this topic, but I thought I'm going to bring it up. So here's the statistics for this weekend. It was all looking very good for Ferrari heading into the closing stages of the season. They have now got a 31.5 point lead over McLaren, who have had undoubtedly an awful weekend in Brazil. Like worse than what happened in Mexico. It's just got worse in Brazil. Charles scored 10 points this week, with Carlos just finishing behind him, scoring 8 points, whereas Lando secured 1 point after having to box on lap 1 due to contact with the Ferrari, which in my opinion was just a racing incident. Carlos could have left a little bit more room, but Lando shouldn't have turned in too quick. It's 50-50 in my opinion. I'll get your opinion in a second, Alex. Daniel, on the other hand, had to retire in the second half of the race due to a mechanical problem. Initially, I thought it was a power unit problem, as it was reported at the time on TV. But McLaren came out and said it's a chassis issue, and it was a cracked chassis issue. I'm not sure what. They're probably a sensor picked up. Obviously, that is not good. So they had to retire the car. I'm not sure at what point where Daniel was racing. It would have been around P10, P11, P9, that kind of area. But it still wasn't the weekend. Even if Daniel and Lando did finish, they would have been outscored by Ferrari by twice as many points, but just because of the position they are in. Like I said, going into the final 3 races of the season, Ferrari definitely have that momentum. We've got some high speed, fast tracks. And at the start of the season, I would have said this would have been in McLaren's favour with that Mercedes engine, but Ferrari have definitely upgraded that car more recently, and it seems like McLaren haven't brought an update in the last couple of months because that car it stayed the same, whereas a couple of other teams are just pushing that a little bit more for the final of this season to try and secure, third place in the constructors. That's what Ferrari are going for. But really, really disappointing weekend for McLaren. Alex, you're a massive McLaren fan, but what's your take on the whole Ferrari McLaren situation at the moment?
Well, let's start by giving Ferrari their credit where it's due. Sainz scored again, so now he has 12 consecutive points finishes. Leclerc has his 10th top 5 finish of the season so far. They've been far, far more consistent recently. Yeah, there is a possibility that these faster tracks coming might help McLaren out, but I'm not sure if it's to do with development or lack of. Concentrating on next year, I don't really know, or form issues. It's possible. I feel like Norris, and maybe Ricciardo as well, but certainly Norris is just generally better with the first half of the calendar and those particular tracks. Anyway, it was a shame that Ricciardo retired. It's his first DNF since Austria last year. So that's a 34 race finishing streak.
Which was the highest, wasn't it?
Came to an end. Yeah, I think it was the highest.
On the grid,
he also at one point had the most point. He had like a point streak as well as a finishing streak. At one point, I think he had the longest point streak. So it started off pretty well, and it's all gone a bit downhill. As for this incident between Norris and Sainz, which is really the only action that we saw McLaren in the race itself. I can't say that I am very happy with Carlos on this one. He claimed on the radio that he was squeezed, which is absolute nonsense.
Yeah, because
it's in fact absolutely comical how much space he has to his left during the whole affair. Because you go back and watch the start again, there's acres of space to his left. He wasn't squeezed at all. Absolute rubbish. He moves over to protect against Norris, who gets a much better start.
Yeah,
and almost pushes the McLaren into the wall. Norris has to basically go off the track, or at least half off the track. Now, Norris is moving over slightly to the left as he goes past, yes, but not because he thinks he got the move done or anything like that, but because he was trying to stay on the track.
Yeah, true.
He was trying to come back onto the track. We are going to talk about in this podcast the matter of cars being forced off track and the way that the stewards deal with that. And I don't know what relevance lap 1 leniency would have here, because this isn't because of chaos between cars. More than enough space for Carlos to have left there, and he didn't. And remember that the rules and the enforcement go beyond any single incident. They also lay down what racing is and what is permitted at this level. And much like Max's weaving that we saw later on, I don't think that we should be shrugging off actions on track that are little more than just cynical admissions of defeat, which is what I think Carlos's move was. Lando got a much better start and was easily going past, and he just didn't quite leave enough room to go over, and Lando was trying to come back onto the track. For that, not even... Now, is it a penalty? I don't really know. That's harder to say. But to not even be investigated, I think is very questionable. So, yeah, not a fan of the former McLaren, that man there. I think Carlos, there was no need for that. I think it was cynical. So to not even be investigated is not good enough, in my opinion. For it to be a racing incident, I'd have to say that neither driver is predominantly at fault, and I don't think that's true.
Yeah, well, there you go. This is why I'm glad we have these conversations, because you just open up my mind a little bit. It's very easy to say that it's like 50-50, but maybe I just haven't looked back on it. I just brushed it off because there's so much else happening on track at the same time.